Godflesh are an English industrial metal band formed in Birmingham in 1982. The band's original lineup consisted of Justin Broadrick on guitars, vocals, and programming, and B.C. Green on bass and Paul Neville on drums. But Paul Neville left the band in 1984. Godflesh released their debut EP, Godflesh, in 1988. The EP was followed by their debut album, Streetcleaner, in 1989. This album, Streetcleaner, is considered to be one of the most influential albums in the industrial metal genre. Godflesh released their second album, Pure, in 1992. This was more experimental than Streetcleaner, also considered to be one of the first post-metal albums. They released a few more albums, then they disbanded in 2002. Broadrick formed another band called Jesu. G.C. Green worked with various projects, and Paul Raven went to work with Killing Joke and Ministry, but he passed away in 2007. The band reunited in 2009. They released 3 albums since then. So in 2014, they released A World Lit Only by Fire. Then a few years later, in 2017, they released Post Self. Now it's 2023, and we're going to talk about Purge. So this band, Godflesh, are considered one of the most important bands in the industrial metal genre, but they haven't really been as big as Ministry or Nine Inch Nails, and I'll talk about why later as I get through this video. The 9th studio album by Godflesh, released on June 9th, 2023. They announced the album on March 1st, and according to them, it revisits and updates the concepts explored on Pure, which is the group's 1992 album. So the title Purge refers to how frontman Justin Broadrick, he utilizes Godflesh's music as a temporary relief from his diagnosed autism and PTSD. So I thought that's pretty cool. So Purge was met with positive reviews from the critics. So at Metacritic, they assigned it an average score of 80, so it's pretty cool. So let me read a few of these. So let me start with Kerrang. They said, an overwhelming addition to a back catalog not lacking in transcendental power. Purge finds Justin channeling distress and disgust into music that hits both body and soul, creating something wonderful out of horror and pain. This really is a perfectly titled album. And The Wire said, the album's first half is simultaneously some of Godflesh's most aggro material and as gleaming and chromed as a Terminator that's been burned down to its metal skeleton. And AllMusic said, Purge is heavier on breaks and electronics than Pure, and feels more sudden and immediate, foregoing the album's dark ambient experimentation and extended track lengths. Okay, so let's talk about this. The opening track is Nero. This one has a steady industrial beat. It carries the song throughout its entirety. Guitar riffs are very heavy and dissonant. Like the sound of some big robotic creature coming to destroy a city. That's how I would describe it. Vocals are a lot harsher than you would hear on a typical industrial metal band, and probably closer to death metal vocals or the post-metal bands. Then Landlord is another song that was a single that has a steady industrial beat. It has some guitar riffs. They use a lot of feedback, creating these atmospheric soundscapes. There's a guitar riff in the song, reminds me of the song Halo of Flies by Alice Cooper, and I thought that was cool. The vocals are, again, very heavy. They use a little bit of distortion on the vocals at one point, and pretty cool for a second track. Then Army of None. This one is a similar sound than the first 2 songs. They have a thicker bass groove in the intro. They use some sound bites and samples, kind of makes the song sound a little bit like hip-hop with some repetitive heavy riffs. Lazarus Leper is a lot slower. It's more dissonant. It's more atmospheric. Has haunting soundscapes. They use a lot of feedback in the sound. Still has an industrial drum beat and some dark and heavy vocals with some guitar riffs that seem to drone on throughout the song. And in the end of the song, it sounds like these echoes in this cavernous chamber or something like that. But anyway, not too bad. Then Permission. It reminded me of Ministry a little bit, where they would do these drum beats and they incorporate these sound bites into the beat, if that makes any sense, and has droning guitar riffs and heavy vocals. The Father is a slow song, very dissonant. They have cleaner vocals. They seem to have like this droning quality to them. The guitar riffs were slower and heavier, using a lot of feedback. That one was not too bad. Mythology of Self. The first thing I noticed with this song, it has some heavy vocals and they sound like almost demonic. The song is a slow drum beat. They use some guitar riffs that remind me of the band Machine Head. A lot of feedback. They end the song with an atmospheric passage where it sounds like kind of like you're lost in the middle of space. And then track number 8 is You Are the Judge, the Jury, and the Executioner. This is the longest song on the album. It's about 8 minutes long. It moves at a slow pace. It's very atmospheric and cavernous. There are some cleaner vocals and the guitar riffs had feedback in them. The song continues like this throughout its runtime, and it's the type of song where you can listen to it with headphones and just sit back and take it all in. So in conclusion, this is a different type of industrial band. They're not like Ministry where they have a lot of political lyrics or faster paced drum beats and thrash metal guitar riffs. This album in particular, it's just slow, it's dissonant, lots of feedback. Probably closer to a band like Neurosis or Cult of Luna or some other post-metal bands, but with the exception being they use a lot more like industrial sounds. So this band has been around, I think, longer than Ministry, and the music doesn't really translate to a commercial sound like bands like Ministry or Nine Inch Nails. So for that reason, they never got the widespread recognition. I think this is a band for fans of extreme metal. You know, when they don't mind if music is very like slow and dissonant and heavy, and it's not really the type of song where like these like hooks and like catchy like riffs and things like that. It's just very dark and atmospheric and thick, like that type of sound. So I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's the type of album I need to spend more time with. That's my score for now. It can obviously go up by the end of the month as I listen to it some more. But that is all. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like this video. It helps me with the algorithm. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Please comment. I like to respond to all comments. And check out the video I did right here, Top 10 Industrial Metal Albums. And you might find that interesting. So thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.